Hello everyone, welcome back to Career Konnect. So we're doing a series of videos in which we are exploring different careers. We had a PhD person, we had a person from the sustainable energy industry, and today we have Manoj. Welcome to Career Konnect.
Thank you, Nambi bro. Thanks for having me in your career podcast.
Thank you. And he works as a data analyst and he's from India. And so let's get to know about him, what he does in Berlin, what is his journey from India to Berlin, and also all the other minor details, major details, everything else in between. Okay, so usually we'll start with a very typical career question, which is tell me about yourself. So tell me about yourself. What do you do here in Berlin, and what is your work about in Berlin?
Sure. Hello everyone. Vanakkam makkale. Myself Manoj. I am a senior data analyst in Flix. Right now it's not Flixbus anymore. And I'm basically from Chennai. I packed my bags for Flix because my visa was sponsored by them. So thank you so much. And previously to the current job, I was working as a data scientist. So basically a data guy for a couple of years now. And I right now have about 5+ years of experience, and it's been over 2 years here in Berlin. And things have been going well with Flix, with family and everything.
Tell me about your background. Where are you from? I guess you probably worked in India. What did you study there? And the next question is, why did you make the change? But before we come there, tell us about your background from India.
Sure. Probably I'll start off from my college days. So like every other Indian, so I also studied engineering and then thought about what I actually really want. So it could be doctor or pilot, etc., but we always become engineers first. Starting off with my bachelor's in instrumentation. So I actually picked instrumentation engineering because I don't want to get into computer science, and I really wanted to try something different. So I was actually interested in oil and natural gas.
Okay.
So which is the very reason I picked. Yes, it was electronics and instrumentation. I still had computer papers, your analytics, etc. Like it was like covered very marginally in terms of computing, programming languages, electronics, etc. But it was really focused on instruments. So after 4 years, I realized that the oil and natural gas market back then was really competitive, and then investments were really less. So it was getting harder and harder to get jobs. And by the final year, I was lucky enough to crack an Indian IT service company through placements. So there was a moment where I had to choose whether I should wait and pursue or should I grab the opportunity that has already come my way. So I wanted to be like a little bit pragmatic. So I just picked the offer that I had in my hand, and I worked there for about 5 years, 5.5, let's say, for Walmart. Basically, I was into back-end analysis, let's say, and I was trying to help all the stores in US, also in international markets of Walmart, especially around back-end analysis. And then I wanted to pivot from data analysis and back-end development to data science. So I prepared myself, and then I shifted gears, and then I joined Shell as a data scientist in retail analytics team. And then I was there for about over a year, which is when I decided that I should make a move, rather look for opportunities elsewhere outside of India.
Okay.
And in this pursuit, I got to know that companies in Berlin offer visa-sponsored jobs. So initially, I was thinking that I can potentially move to Canada with my family, but thanks to my wife, she researched and she got to know that there are companies that are sponsoring visas, and it is time that I can give a try. So that was the motivation point, I would say. And then I started giving out interviews. This was around the end of the pandemic, let's say. So we were in second wave, like end of second wave. 2022, end of second wave, etc. So that is when there were like a lot of startups who were interested in people from different parts of the world, and they were recruiting people with visa sponsorships. So that's how I got it started. So I searched job for about 3 months, and it took me 3 months to crack. And yeah, then I packed my bags for Flix. But then I have so many stories there around job search, etc.
Okay, before we go into that, at least one interesting story. In the last few minutes we are speaking, I counted almost like many common similarities between you and me. Both are from Tirunelveli. I also did electronics and instrumentation engineering. I also worked in IT services, but not Walmart, but in TCS. Then I pivoted to design, and then I moved to Berlin in 2022. So much similarities, but only thing is US is a straight line. I went to TCS, then I went somewhere else, and then I came to design, and then I went somewhere else, and then I came to Walmart, and then I also worked in Walmart as a product designer before moving to Berlin. So I think a lot of similarities. And you're saying a lot of stories in this journey from India to Germany. Tell us the most interesting story.
So at first, as Indians, as Indian IT services people, we are not so much exposed to failures, especially with interviews. So at most folks, like they are trying around 5 to 7 companies and they will definitely crack. But the permutation and combination changes rather drastically when you are trying jobs elsewhere, especially outside of India. So I start my search with a small second-hand car selling startup, which is based out of Germany. So I go to their website. I was able to find a match, and then I wanted to apply for the job. And then I did not have just one skill, which was Google Analytics tool. So I thought, usually a job opening stays for about, let's say, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, somewhere in between.
Same month,
2 to 4 weeks, etc. So I thought, that's good time for me to prepare, crack Google Analytics certification, and then maybe post my profile, and then maybe I get lucky. So that was the first ever opening that I applied for. So I just took 1 week. I worked really hard because 8+ hours I would work, and then after office hours I would prepare for the certification, and in 1 week I was able to crack, and then I was able to add Google Analytics to my resume, and then I applied for this job. The next day I got rejection. That was the first instance. Maybe we just don't know, right, that you are so many thousands of kilometers away, and then rejections are quite normal. At that instance, I didn't know. So yes, the first role that I applied was rejected, and then I shifted the city from Munich to Berlin because Berlin was full of opportunities. And now for the second role that I wanted to apply, I did a couple of research, like which companies, etc., etc. Instead of going to a random startup, I did small research, etc., etc. And then I decided to apply for this very popular food delivery startup. I really had my eyes on, and then I wanted to end there. And then I started applying to the roles. There were like minimum of 10+ roles which would match my profile, like flurry of visa sponsored jobs in different parts of their business. So first role I apply, I got rejected. Second I apply, I got rejected. About 5 roles I applied there, I got rejected. That's when I got really annoyed. Rather, that was the turning point, I would say. I felt like, what, you're rejecting me? Like I'm going to come back even more stronger, because I did not realize, or rather I was a little bit complacent that It would be like India. What I mean is basically the supply in India is more because you need a lot of people for each of the companies, etc. So the permutation and combination numbers are a little bit better. Like your chances of winning is better because the supply is more. Here the supply is really less, which you don't evaluate at that time. You are like a baby who's trying, especially if you have not done masters or something outside of India, you already know the market. So I knew nothing at that moment. I was just normal lad who had little bit of experience with Indian IT, and then I realized that supply problem is also there. So most startups need, let's say, if they are recruiting, they just need one person for the job, and then you have the same number of people that are applying like in India. So all are competing against each other. But unlike in India, it's like, let's say 10 developers are needed at the time. So the permutation is really different. So then I really got myself up, and then I worked really hard, and eventually I landed in 2 jobs. And I picked just one, which I felt was a pivot in terms of business as well. So historically, I was spending my time in retail, and then I was lucky enough to crack a retail e-commerce company and mobility. And then I chose mobility because I thought it could be a new domain for me in personally to experiment. Which is Flix. Okay. So yeah.
Okay. So from all that is said, you faced a lot of rejections, and then you made a few changes, and then you got through. One common thing is rejections. Even now in the market that there is a lot of people are applying to 500, 600,000 jobs and getting rejected in most of them. Some of them get depressed, and then, but yeah, at this point, whenever you get that rejection, annoyance, depressed, you need to overcome that and then still keep applying. I think that's one of the major lessons I think we can take from what you went through, and then you cleared that. So one thing which I want to what I want to know is, or which I'm curious about, is the difference in work between what you did in India and the work in Germany. I think there is at least some data analysis that you did there, data analytics that you're doing here. What is the difference between working in India and working in data analysis in Germany, in Berlin?
Sure. Basically, here in Germany, or let's say in most countries where product development is opportunities are more rather than services, you end up in having a lot of accountability and a lot of freedom, which you are not used to have it back in India. What I mean by freedom is basically you know what is the work that you need to do, and it is like kind of very well defined, and you are just focusing on that problem, and you get it done. And then you have so many people around you, and you have, like, let's say, couple of hierarchies near you to help support, and then you go through it, and then you get things delivered. But here in Berlin, it's completely person dependent. So you are the project manager, you are the decision maker, you are the problem solver, etc. Not in terms of role, let's say in terms of thinking. So you have to clearly think about, okay, when this is the problem, how you would solve it, whether that problem solving would help the entire company. You should have a broader view, and nobody's here to, let's say, instruct to do this or do that. So you have a full of accountability, and you will have full support from people around you. And also, one stark difference is here it is based on trust. So once you crack an interview, you get a job and you get settled there. So everything moves within the company. The main basis is trust. People trust you, and they want you to succeed. So this gives you an opportunity to rather focus with a broader eye of problems that you mostly care for, and you also end up in executing it like really well, which is like the big difference. It was really challenging for me for the first 3-4 months, I would say. I did not even understand the terms accountability, etc. Because back in India, you will have team leads, managers, etc. So the project that you deliver is reviewed by n number of people, and you go through this process, etc. So you have, because we work for large corporations, right? So everything is well set up, and you know like how things will go. But here, you are the owner. You have to take ownership. So I was not able to understand that piece for first few months. I was like really struggling. I was stretching myself a lot, which was not needed at all. And then eventually, as time flies by, not just me, like everyone who comes from India and then who settles here, etc. You will finally crack it. But it will take some time to get settled. By that point, you will understand what matters more here. So there are some things that matter in Indian setup. There are some things that matter in Europe setup. So you will just pivot and then focus on the important points that you need here.
Okay, got it.